Okay, let's go to page 93 and start with section 7.1. Okay, this is on the inverse of a function. Now, inverse of function is, again, it's like the opposite. For example, if you're adding something, the inverse of that, the opposite to get back to origin is subtract, right? So let's say if you add 5, then if you subtract 5, you get back original. So adding 5 and subtracting 5 would be the inverse of each other. And same thing, the multiplication and divisions are inverse of each other. So let's go to example 7-2 on how to find the inverse function. Okay. So when you have a function, you have f of x. This is from example 7-1. Okay. So f of x equal to x over 1 plus x. So what would be the inverse function of this? So in the book, what they did is they call the inverse function g of x. So when you have a function of inverse function, the function of the inverse function, this will equal to the original, which is equal to x. Okay? Then all you have to do is you just go and substitute this in here. So whenever you see this, whenever you see x, you change into the g of x. So f of g of x using this would be g of x over 1 plus g of x. Again, when you have a function of an inverse function, this will always equal to x. Okay, get back to your original. So now you can just look at this part over here, and you're going to solve for g of x. So if you cross multiply, you got g of x equal to x plus x g of x. And you're going to move this over. So you got g of x minus x g of x equal to x. And you factor out the g of x. Factor out the g of x. So you're going to get 1 minus x equal to x. And you divide, so g of x equal to x over 1 minus x. Okay, so if f of x equal to x over 1 plus x, the inverse would be x over 1 minus x. So again, the way to find inverse function is you have the function of the inverse function and equal to x. Then you substitute this into here to get this equation, and you can solve. So that's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is if you have f of x equal to x over 1 plus x. Okay? So what you want to do is you're going to let this equal to y, right? F of x is y. Okay. So inverse function means you switch x and y. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to interchange x and y. So y becomes x, okay, and x becomes y. Then after that, you're going to solve for y, the new y. Again, notice I color code, right? So this is for the inverse function. So you're going to cross multiply. And I'm solving for y, so I'm going to move the y to this side. Okay, so y equal to x plus xy. Then I'm going to collect the y term, so y minus xy equal to x. So factor out the y, and then you divide, so y equal to x over 1 minus x. And because this is the red y, so this is the inverse function. Okay, so you can see they're the same thing. Okay, so again, you can do it two ways, right? One is by exchanging, switching x and y. Y becomes x, x becomes y. Then after you solve that, another way is by using function of the inverse function equal to x, and you just substitute the g of x into that original function, and you solve for g of x. Okay, so again, this is how you find the inverse function. Okay, let's go to the next example. Let's go to example, actually the exercise. So let's go to page 94 and let's look at exercise 7-1. Okay, you have f of x equal to cube root of x. So what's the inverse function? Okay. So again, you can do it two ways. I'm more comfortable with this method, okay? So I'm going to just make this equal to y. I'm going to cube both, I'm going to exchange x and the y. Okay, then after that I'm going to cube both sides. So x cubed equal to y. And that is your inverse function. So inverse function of x equal to x cubed. Okay. Now there are a couple things, there's another thing you have to be very careful. Okay, let's go to example 7-3. Okay, you have the f3 of f4. Now this is not a cube of function. Okay, this is not a cube. This is not a fourth power, and I will explain a bit after that. So f of 3 of f4 of x, this is equal to, there are 7 of them, so b. Okay, so this is equal to that, and so this is equal to f7 of x. Okay, now be careful with this. This is equal to this. Okay, this is not equal to f of x to the 7th power. Okay, f of x to the 7th power is equal to f of x times f of x times f of x dot dot dot. So these are not the same thing. So you got to be careful. Okay, make sure you understand what that means. Okay. When you're doing the graphing, when you get to page 95, okay, so again, remember, f of x and inverse of x means that x and y are interchanged. Okay, so for example, if you're the graph, okay, let's say if you have this function, okay, the inverse of that is you flip over according to the x equal to y 9. So so when you interchange x and the y, you can flip over, so it becomes like this. Okay, so you can flip it over. So let's say if you have a point, I'm just do a random point. Let's say if you have like 4, 1, okay, black one. Then the inverse function will have a point at 1, 4 because x and the y are switched. Okay, so that's another important information to know with the graph. Okay, again, remember function and its inverse are switching x and the y. Okay. Now there are some function is equal to its inverse. Right? For example, if you have the f of x equal to x, right? That means y equal to x, and that is this line over here. So when you flip, it still get the same, right? So there are some function is equal to its own inverse.